Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to actually recreate this very simple web graphic. So just text, I'll show you where to find the type tool and how to essentially size up your fonts and how to choose a font and add color into your fonts as well as a little bit of a drop shadow in the middle. I have a file here that's empty, and as you can see in the layer panel, there's just a fill of the color in the background. That's it. So what you're going to do is take your type tool and the fonts, before you do anything, when you click on the type tool, just notice that at the very top, you should have a drop-down menu and you could choose from different fonts. You could also choose from different weights of the fonts, and you could also even type in the sizes. However, you can always size up using the bounding box like we did the images as well. So I'm going to leave it at the System Font Myriad Pro. And just like this web graphic, I will add the color. So here, I'm going to start with, and before you even start, you can also see up here, if I click on here, this is the color that the first font that you're typing with will be. If you do not want it that color, then just choose a different font. I'm just going to click OK, and then I'm going to click on my page. And you may have to shift it over because you can see mine is half on, half off, right? So what I would do is I would take my move tool, move this over. And then as you can see, I can scale up or down, or I can type in the font, right? Down here, it also gives you your fonts as well. So I'm gonna, before I size it, I'm just gonna take my type tool again and highlight this and type in all caps, good, just by itself, good. Once I have that, now I can take it and make sure you don't stretch it out like this, right? So make sure you keep it in proportion. Be careful when you're sizing it. And I want it to be almost the width size of the entire page, but I don't want it to crop. So good. Okay, now I'm going to show you a little trick. So I'm going to press done. I'm going to show you little tricks because I don't want to keep doing this over and over again. A quick way to just keep everything you just did, the size. The only thing we may have to do is just change the color after is grab this particular text, but hold down the Option key. So when you hold down the Option key, your cursor will change. You're going to notice that there's like a black and a white cursor, the Option key. Okay, when you click and drag, there is a duplicate. Then I could take that, my type tool again, highlight the text and type in vibes. And because you can kind of, we are working in design here, okay? We need a bit of balance and alignment. So I'm gonna have to make this slightly bigger to kind of match where the G falls, right? The V and the G and the D and the S. And I might have to move this down a little, okay? Then I could also change the color. Right now it's this color here. So I can go in, I have to press done as well. I can go in and change the color. So I want something bright. That's really bright. Something like that. Okay. And then finally, I'm going to do that step one more time. Hold down my Option key, drag down. And this time I'm going to type in the word with my type tool, highlight your text only. Okay, so again, I'm going to have to size it to make sure that I am aligning my text, right? And make sure you don't stretch it and it keeps it in proportion. And make sure it's balanced. So move it, shift it, press down and take a look at it before you do anything else. I can see that there's spacing in between, roughly the same size, and that's what I want. And now the only thing I have to do here is change the color of this font here. So I could do that here or here. So I'm going to click here just to show you. And here we go. Okay. So now when I look at my layers panel, I can see the text is there, but I'd like to add to the middle text, the vibes, a drop shadow. So in order to do that, there is more than one way to do this, but if you double click on that layer, you can see that this whole layer style menu comes up and you can do all sorts of things. And as you can see, drop shadows here, there's outer glow and all these things. Be careful not to use too many, especially on text, because once you start using too many things, the text becomes very difficult to read. So I'm going to just add drop shadow. Now I can barely see it. And if you can barely see something, it's probably because I can already see it right here. My distance is very like 1% or 1 pixels and 1%. There's like nothing there. So if you want to see, you can kind of see that once I start dragging this out a little, and I'm going to soften it as well. The size actually softens the shadow. You can see that, okay? Multiply is a blend mode. I wouldn't change this, leave that as is. And typically we have a black drop shadow, so don't change that as well. The opacity you can play with. Opacity is how much. Do you want it extremely dark or do you want it soft? So that you can play around with. So these areas here. Right now, my drop shadow angle is set to 90, and which I like. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. And that's essentially all I'm going to touch in this area. And I'm going to move this over and press OK. And that's it. So now we have the graphic ready. And let's say that's it. That's all we want. We want to upload this to Instagram, for example, a custom graphic we made. All we need to do is go to File, Export, Export As. You can see here is just the artboard, and you just have to choose your format. So this particular graphic, you can export a JPEG of it. You can see the width and the height. Here is the Instagram size, 1080 by 1080 pixels. Everything is correct. I'm going to export it. And you're just going to choose where do you want to export it. I recommend always choosing the desktop because it's easy to find after, or if you know of a folder that you'd like to save it in. So I'm just going to call this web graphic desktop save JPEG. Okay, and then it should be saved. There it is.